Well, we finished up the shit we want to do in the town. We got some good info on Isak and the Baron Master, Berger Master, Baron Master of Burgeons, and that's what I did. What you guys did,
We
you know.
talked to homeboy that had the curses on him.
Yes, that was good.
Got caught up on that.
Or did.
I caught up on some
Narlo got a
curses.
little bit of info that he kept to himself.
We made our walk. We left it back behind the stable because it's unnecessary collateral. Big brain. And then when we got to Barovia, we got to the church, and I was ready to throw down. And then the priest was like, "Nah, it's all good. I got him chained up." And then, bam! Lightning explosion. I kind of skipped a lot, but that's kind of where it ended.
That is the broad strokes. Just checking. Mike, are you here or no?
Yes, my
Okay.
webcam is on the fritz, and my body hurts, and I gave up kneeling down under my desk.
That's totally fine. I just wanted to make sure you were present because I hadn't heard you yet. Yeah, I think that's most of the high notes. The conversation with Borden was certainly helpful. Gave me an idea that it seems like the shadow, maybe some sort of familiar, strongly implied that he was a warlock. Basically, he also offered to assist you, but he mentioned that he was more of the fast talker, mind manipulator sort than any sort of heavy damage dealing caster, but still has offered to assist when it is finally time to make a move against the Baron. And also will help keep things calm in Valaki while you guys are not there to the best of his abilities.
After we come back, there's just a full blown like race war going on.
Right.
Right.
Ralmer got to talk to Lady. Was it? It's not Mardukov, is it?
Walker.
Walker. Yeah, Lady Walker.
Mm-hmm.
Narlo got some pie while he was there.
It's true. Not quite the pies you were craving, but you did get
But
a delicious treat.
it's a free pie is a free pie.
Exactly. But yes, Ralmir reassured Lady Walker that the plan is progressing, showed her the new version of the forged document, and she seemed quite happy with that. She mentioned to you that retrieving the seal or finding a way to forge it are probably the only things standing between you and being ready to execute that plan from a legal standpoint. Of course, you'll be breaking the law, but it will hold up to inspection at that point. No, you
Two
also
other keynotes. We got
go ahead.
2 hooks that I don't know if they're going to go anywhere or not, but we found
ahead.
out the name of the legendary toy maker Fritz von Virg. I wrote Power Word Fabulous in parentheses, and I don't remember why. And we encountered the Skeletal Rider again. Uncle Bocce and him conversed.
Yeah.
Discussed
To send him towards
Argenvost again.
Argenvost and the Order of the Silver Dragon.
Yes. And it would seem that he's coherent for moments at a time, but is still kind of barely clinging on, almost stuck in a patrol route with no end.
He's pretty damn tarnished at this point.
Yeah. He is quite tarnished.
You mean hollowed?
Or hollowed, yes. Well,
Either.
it depends on the game. Fucking Elden Ring.
No, that was me being a shit.
But yes, you also, as noted, came back to help Father Donovich and Doru. Last we left, you had both broken the curse and then tossed a healing spell Doru's way to make sure that he survived the transition back. And Father Donovich seems to have collapsed. But yes, lightning did strike the church. Thunder rumbling in the distance, and the storm over Castle Ravenloft seems to have grown even thicker. I think we pick up.
Strahd pissed is my last note.
I think we're just going to pick up right in that moment as you hear the storm intensify to the northwest. And lightning did strike the church, but does not do so a second time. A few loosened roof tiles kind of clatter through the holes that are still present in the roof above you. But as far as you can tell, no fire breaks out. Um, but yeah, um, I think Irina probably immediately draws her sword and points it at the door. But you can see she's clearly like glancing around, trying to see if there is an enemy coming. Not that she is reacting to a specific one. Um,
I would like to immediately spare the dying on Father Donovich,
just to make sure.
just in case,
Sure.
which I can do from a 30-foot range.
Yes, you can. So you send out that little bit of magic, and I suppose probably you'd feel it kind of fizzle, not as though anything is canceling it out, but more he's just unconscious, but not
Doesn't need to
like
be spared.
damaged. He just fainted
Yeah.
functionally.
Like overworked, stressed. I didn't know if he looked anemic necessarily based on your description, but you did make it sound just more like he
Mhm.
hasn't slept.
If you were to investigate him closer, or even just cast like a particularly careful glance at him, um, like consciously looking for signs, yeah, he does look a little bit sunken. Um, and there are bandages kind of at the very edge of his shirt collar, but he doesn't look like he's been severely draining himself or anything. We did speak about potentially the idea of giving some blood to him in moderation, not directly last time you guys were here as well. It was not a conclusion you came to, but you did pitch it, so he may have followed through. But yeah, I think um, Irina would probably slowly pace towards like one of the windows near the front of the church and kind of peek out. Um, I'll be honest, with the theatrical timing of all of that, I almost anticipated a pack of wolves charging up the front lawn. But it seems quiet for now. What do we do with him? And she kind of gestures at Father Donovich, and the boy for that matter.
They stay in the church. Surely they have a home.
Well, his quarters were here. Um, I suppose if you could return him to... And she kind of glances over Doru carefully. His rightful state. He shouldn't be a risk to anybody. We could just leave them to recuperate.
I'd much rather personally see them both to an area where they can rest and probably keep an eye on Doru for the time being until I can verify his current state of being.
Sure.
But first things first, we gotta get rid of these chains. Are they padlocked?
Yes, but
I got you.
go ahead.
Yeah. Frank was made for this, or Walmer was made for this. Did we already remove curse on his ass?
Yes, at the very end of last session.
Well,
That's actually not bad. And this is like, you know, an iron padlock made by commoners. This is hardly a
Right, this is the master
high-end
lock, dude.
home lock. Yes. So Realmer, you kind of look at it. You, I think, kind of just like you're half-assing the lock itself while you're kind of keeping a lookout, and it just pops right open. You know, old habits and all that. Problem solved.
And then if Doru looks stable for the moment, that's when I'll go double check on Father Donovich and take a look at his injuries and whatnot. I don't. If it's exhaustion, I don't think healing does that because I'm gonna assume it's mechanically exhaustion levels or some
Yes.
shit. So
Yes.
I
Um,
know that my healing spells won't help with that.
Guys can't sleep. I don't have
Correct.
to force him to sleep.
Right.
He is asleep.
He's unconscious. They're slightly different things.
Right. Force him to
Rem these nuts.
Right.
read.
Ow. Unfortunately, the sleep spell only works for about a minute. But no, you
Right.
get the feeling that he just needs probably the duration of a short rest or so to come back around, both of them. Doru's been through a lot, and same thing. While they won't be cured of an exhaustion level, they'll at least have some time to like rest and be up and moving. Neither one of them is dangerously exhausted to the point where they may die. I believe that's 5 exhaustion levels. But you get the sense that Father Donovich has been, until this moment anyway, awake for probably 2 days or longer. And shows signs of dehydration, malnourishment in the short term anyway, and lack of sleep. Yeah, he's probably been here praying over Doru for most of that duration. That's kind of the vibe you get. But yeah, I mean, you mentioning you want to give them a chance to recuperate. Irina would lead you down the little hall to Father Donovich's office.
Ask the
And
boys for
they're-
help to get these guys up.
Mm-hmm. Donovich is a little portly, but Doru is not even all that tall. He was still quite young. He's in his mid-teens, and also probably quite thin. Not that much to go around in a village like this, in a place like this. So you're easily able to kind of, one under the shoulders and one with the feet, like lift them and move them. But yeah, in the study, there's a little cot, and then there's also a proper bedroom next door with a single bed. So you're able to kind of put Father Donovich in his bed, lay Dora out in the office. And yeah, I mean, if you guys would like to just kind of sit and reflect for a while, or, if you have any questions for Irina, any planning to do short rest?
When I put that book back that I borrowed very momentarily, is that in the same room as that like the cellar hatch?
Yes,
Is that still
I
locked?
believe so. Let me double check. No, so you guys had locked the hatch, and in fact, it looks like the lock may have even been the same one that was on the chains, because the lock is not here anymore, and it was similar, very simple iron padlock. But you had locked the actual hatch and then slid the altar over it, and the altar has been moved, and the lock was taken off in order to get to Doru, presumably. You want to go back down there?
Yeah, I want to. We never went down there, so I would like to see what's down there.
Sure. For that, I think we can actually go to the map. Like I said, the map shows the church itself being much more blown up than it was. Please excuse Ismark not being here.
While they're going downstairs to do that, Darling's gonna use mend on whatever got blown up by the lightning.
Fair enough. Let's do this. He's looking friendlier than that right now. But you're gonna go down.
Yeah, I just
Go
want to
ahead.
check out see what's down here.
Sure. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry, Narlik. Will you repeat yourself real quick? What were you saying?
The shingles that got blown up by the lightning, he'll take the
Mhm.
time to mend that shit.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if you want to take just like even a little bit longer, like because Ayakabachi's gonna explore and Irvir's seeing to people, um, you could spend a few minutes and just like touch up some of these damaged pews and the windows and whatnot if you wanted, or do you just want to put the most recent stuff back?
Yeah, no, he'll do whatever he can in the short time that we're here. Might as
Nice.
well.
Yeah, it's very selfless of you. And yeah, so you're able to kind of like, again, scrounge up most of the right pieces to like bring a pew back together over the course of 30 seconds or so. And like, you kind of mend like a window pane back and then lift it back into place to help it stick. And, you're able to undo a fair amount of the superficial damage. which is good. You can't like mend the beams in the ceiling or whatever,
Right,
but all
any
the
major
little stuff
damage.
you can help
Yeah.
put back together. All right. Yes. So Ayakabachi, you open the hatch and you pick your way down the stairs. The church's undercroft has rough-hewn walls and a floor made of damp clay and earth. Rotting wooden pillars strain under the weight of the wooden ceiling. Candlelight from the chapel above slips through the cracks, illuminating deep gouges and rivets in the floor, as though something large and strong prowled around down here.
Yeah, I'm just gonna look around, see if I notice anything out of the ordinary, do a little investigating, see if, maybe there was a struggle, or maybe there's some old, holy water stashed under somewhere, or just basically anything I could find.
Sure. Go ahead and roll me your choice, I guess. You could look at it from like a tracking perspective if you're looking for signs of a struggle, or you could look at it as like a specifically what took place if you find a struggle from investigation. So like tracking, you might know how many people, where they were standing, but investigation might give you more of a sense of like what actually went down. But I know your talent for that is not quite as good, I
Yeah,
don't think.
Yakobachi's just interested on how this priest got this creature upstairs and nothing happened.
Sure. So that sounds like
I
survival.
like it.
Track who went in
Oh,
and
I already
out and
rolled it.
like who might have been involved. Oh, you already rolled investigation?
Mm.
Okay. I think you asked me a fairly specific question, which lets me give you at least simple stuff with a DC 5. You see, before you came down, there's signs that like mud was splattered everywhere as Doru presumably thrashed around down here trying to get out initially. But there are 3 sets of boot prints going down the stairs before you. You can't really make sense of who they were, but you can make out that like there's definitely different sizes of feet that all came down here. And Doru was not wearing shoes upstairs.
Man feet.
Yes.
And that's I'll just do that. I'll stay down there for a little bit, just kind of doing my thing.
Well, if you want to investigate the rest of the basement, just if you were curious.
There's no cupboards or anything, right? It's just basically barren.
No, it's basically just, signs of struggle down here, but it is a bare kind of stone wall, dirt floor sort of thing, unfortunately.
Well, I'll let the other guys do their stuff, and then I'll come back up there.
Sure. Probably take a couple minutes to ponder since it's not a particularly great roll.
Yeah, imagine he's like on his knee, and he's like touching the foot, and he's just like, man feet, and he's just like rubbing the dirt between his fingers.
Smells like dirt.
All right. Arvir, I assume you're looking in. You said on Donovich for more detail. Did you want to make a medicine roll, or?
Sure. I think after the at a glance, it's like, okay, well, that's probably all I need. But on the off chance that I get more out
I
of
just didn't know if you did or didn't. But that's with that roll, yes, you do. So, like I said, starving, not sleeping, not drinking enough, signs of an injury on the neck. You also roll up the sleeves of his robe and kind of take a closer look, and there are bandages around his forearm as well. And as you start to just like peek under them to make sure the dressings aren't gonna like get infected or anything, not that magical healing would, have to worry about that. You would notice that they look like they were made with a blade, not with claws or with teeth. So you're fairly confident after investigating him more carefully, he was not bitten. That initial assumption about him perhaps giving blood looks like the forearm wounds were first, and then maybe those weren't bleeding quickly enough. So there's one not like on the neck, but like kind of across the top of the shoulder. And yeah, additionally, I think you would probably note, and I'm just assuming you're looking at both of them, obviously the same in Doru, he has not eaten anything in a while, and now has biological needs again. Um, so yeah, you'd probably want to cook up something easy for them to eat if you want to worry about that.
I
Soup
was
or
actually
something.
thinking about that, what I might have for travel rations and what would make a very easy water stock base.
Yep,
Some sort of the barest minimum of soups.
sure.
Only
Yeah,
technically even able to be called a soup.
yeah. Little tiny pat of butter in order to give them a little bit of fat. Maybe steep some trail rations in there to get some of the meat juices back out.
Is Granny in town for the meat pies?
You could go look.
Yeah, I'm gonna go see because I owe Norlock a meat pie. This might be. If she's here, I'll go get him one too.
Okay. Let's see.
I'm gonna get him a meat pie so he can actually have nice dreams again.
That and your tiefling or your word. So, you know.
All right. Yeah, okay. So you kind of step out and remember that Barovia Village itself is particularly bleak compared to Valaki. There's not a lot of people out and about, and the mist, even on days when it's not raining like it currently is, does lay very heavily in this town. But you see some cooking fires going, some lights on in windows, even though it's the middle of the day. Um, And I think if you're like looking, just you're taking a quick jog up and down the streets, because it's not big. I can move you back to the overview map for a reminder. But like,
Before he leaves,
go ahead.
if he noticed that he was leaving, probably ask him to let Ismark know we're here.
Oh,
Yeah, I could do that too.
sure. Um, yeah, you kind of, but you can see it on the map. One square is 40 feet. You could jog this. This is a small neighborhood. So if you want to take a few minutes, take a loop, look for her, and then hit Ismark up in the northeast corner there, easy done. You don't see Granny. But you do come across. This is a funny question to ask. What is your passive investigation? What is 10 plus your investigation bonus?
Is with the oh it's the number that's next to the check mark, right?
Yes. What is
Yep,
the bonus there?
6.
6? Okay, so 16, just even if you're not actively trying. As you round this corner, uh, that leads back the way that road there that you came from, you notice there are handcart tracks in the mud leading out of town that had to be recent because it's raining, right? It would get washed away over not too long. And that looks kind of like the same size cart that Granny was pulling last time, but you never passed her on the road in or into town, and you've only been here maybe 30 minutes. These look even older than that. She seems to have left town, but she didn't cross her on the road.
Um, can I do like an investigation check and then see if I could?
Sure, yeah, if that piques your interest enough to like stop for a minute and like
Yeah.
actually ponder over what you think happened.
Oh, it's worse than my passive. So
That's okay. Um, I think if you're dedicating the time, even hitting the 10 there is going to give you some information. Um, you wander down the road, and you've been traveling with this group for a few days now. You're, I think, the detective minded sort. You've certainly expressed that a lot. You're kind of watching how the footprints are going when it comes to your party normally, even if it's just so you know how to impersonate them later. But you notice that the cart tracks are underneath the footprints of your party coming into town, meaning she left town before you arrived. So you should have crossed her on the road. There is no gap.
Did we notice
Like
a
she
lot of
didn't leave after you.
Did we notice birds on the way there?
I think maybe one trailing you all the way from Valaki off in the distance, but none coming from this way.
Well, I guess when I go is see Isaac, seeing if he's like spotted her around recently.
Sure.
Okay, ask more about that.
Yeah. So you jog your way, kind of through the center of town just to make sure nothing else is amiss. And you head up towards the actual Burgomaster's house. Let's see. Sorry. Yes. So, as a reminder, this mansion definitely has the weight of years upon it. There's a small little, low fence with iron gates out front. Last you were here, they were torn apart. Signs of many nights of the manor being attacked over and over. But it seems like Ismark's taken the time to repair the gate, done a small amount of cleaning up the grounds, actually like probably scythed a path through the front yard so you're not marching through waist-high grass the whole way. And though the windows remain broken, all of the boards have been replaced. And there's a cooking fire clearly going in the kitchen as smoke wafts out of the chimney. I'm going to step up and kind of, after a moment, Ismark, you can hear footsteps coming up to the front door, and it pulls back just a little bit until it stops firmly like it bumped into something, and he kind of peers through and, just one moment. Have to undo the barricade, and you hear the door scrape shut again. Heavy things moving out of the way. And he swings the door open and stands off to the side. It's good to see you, Rolmir. How have you been? I wouldn't have expected you back so soon. Did you accomplish the goal we set out?
Well, so not quite. There has been a little bit of forks in the road, but I would just see it. We were back in town with a certain business, so we wanted to just want to see how you were doing,
Well,
how
and
things were going around here.
he turns and walks a few steps into the room and turns back and kind of glances at you, and you can see his eyes dart to your feet and then back to the rest of you and then to the door frame. Insight if you'd like. Sure. I don't think it's a particularly high DC. It's just not something maybe you as a player are thinking about. Ismark is from a land where there's at least one terrible vampire around. He doesn't want to invite you in. He wants to make sure you can walk in on your own.
Gotcha. That's what I just kind of like say like should I ask like, is it okay if I come in or is there just walk in?
That
You-
sounds awful like trying to get yourself invited in.
Right. I think if you think about it, probably the right thing to do to just prove that you're not a vampire is just to walk in after him and close the door without waiting for an
Okay.
invitation. Like, this is just a weird cultural thing where
Right,
he's
it's like,
checking, but he doesn't want to be rude about it.
It's like
Should
I
just
don't
walk
wanna,
around with a mirror at all times.
Right.
I think I have one. I have a mirror. I just like pull out the steel mirror and then just like.
Prove you have a reflection.
In reality, he's cast an illusion on it.
Oh, good brain. But I think he gets the point of the.
Like I didn't want to seem like if he was like looking uncomfortable, I didn't want to just like push myself in there.
No, no, no. In fact, you get the feeling he wants you to walk in, but if he formally
Oh,
invites
okay.
you, it would be what the vampire would need. So The cultural thing is to just walk across without being invited in.
Okay, yeah, I'll just walk in then.
And you can see him like kind of let out a slight, whew, please, close the door. I've got refreshments on, actually. I was waiting for a different meeting in about half an hour. Come on. And he'll lead you into the little study area and gestures for you to take a seat and goes into the kitchen, busies himself with a pot of tea, and comes out with some, little. Uh, they're rather sad. You get the idea that Irina probably did the cooking, but some little like homemade rolls and some butter and stuff. I'm sorry for the awkward introduction. Last time there wasn't exactly a moment to breathe when we met, so things may have been missed there. I just wanted to make sure you were still you, which does seem to be the case. You said a complication when it comes to your
Yeah,
agreement to escort my sister?
I
And
mean,
you can see he's like, oh no.
she's fine.
Ah.
If that's what you're worried about, though, she's fine.
And he kind of waits for you to elaborate.
What she said. She's actually with traveling with us too. So
Oh, goodness. I'm sorry. I hope you can't blame me for my mind going to the wrong place. Things have been a little bit hectic, as you know. Um, Town has been fine for the most part, but with the damage to the church and people not gathering for services, I've been basically having to run door to door to make sure that everybody's all right. Much harder to
yeah,
canvass without us gathering.
there's churches currently getting small repairs on it right now, actually.
Oh, that's lovely to hear. Your group helping out Father Donovich?
Yep. And then it looks to seem like he. What's this kid's name? I can't remember.
Yoru.
Doru. It seems like Doru has been back to his old self.
Oh,
He's,
well, and you can tell he's like happy to hear that, but he's like, what? Kind of leans in to hear more.
yeah, I don't know the full details on it, but yeah, Irvier definitely helped him out.
I remember him saying something about perhaps being able to ask for such a miracle a little bit further down the line. I will admit that arrived quicker than I anticipated. That's wonderful news. Um, well, I suppose I might as well hear it from all of you and say hello to Irina. Give me just a moment. I can I can meet with the baker later. Let me pin a quick apology
Wait,
note.
um, which just out of curiosity, which baker were you having a meeting
Oh,
with?
uh, he sighs. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry, it just flew out of my head. Uh, there we are. Um, oh, dear Gertruda's mother. I think you met her last she was in town. The one whose daughter's gone missing. She helps us out with the local bread supplies. What can't be supplemented, of course, by our dear grandmotherly visitor. He kind of grits his teeth and fakes a smile at the last bit.
Oh yeah, yeah, because I saw some tracks, like on the road though, but I'm not sure if that was from her or not.
Oh, I do
It
believe
look,
she visited this morning. I don't ever greet her myself. I can't really stop her from selling her wares, but, well, I don't like what they do to the town folk.
it's understandable. I didn't really like the pies myself.
Um, but yes, I believe she was here this morning. Though it's possible you missed her. Well, she came to collect on a payment yesterday, and often once she's taken the children away, she returns the next morning to uh, well, settle the issue of any additional funds that must be handled by the parents.
Can you repeat that about the children?
I was waiting for them. Like, hey, you could go back 1 second.
Yes. And he
That a little,
fidgets.
that was a little nonchalantly for something like that.
Oh, don't take it entirely as nonchalance. It's more just there's not a lot that I can do about it. Well, you know what she sells. Um, moments of peace, which can be quite an appealing thing to people in this place. The only problem is that her price is high, and, well, as you might imagine, coin can be tight in these places. She often escalates to exchanging forced labor from the townsfolk's children for continued delivery of her merchandise. It unfortunately is a legal contract she draws up, so there's not much I can do, especially without the town guard.
Do, do, do you have the contract?
Uh, I have a copy of one somewhere. Just a moment.
I
And
might be able to
he'll.
doctor. I might be able to doctor something up to stop from this child labor.
Ah, I see. And he kind of, as he's scrounging on the bookshelf, like looking through the files that he keeps here, well, it's not so much an agreement with the town as the individual families. That's the problem. If it were the town, I'd have the authority to reject it, but here it is. And he pulls down like a little rolled up parchment, and he walks it over the table and hands it to you. And it's very boilerplate. Um, it's a basically a signed agreement from both parties. So both Granny's name is on there, and then this is for a random town member, indicating that she is providing a dozen of the dream pastries, with the cost due at the end of a 12-day period. If payment is not made, 2 days later, they owe double. 2 days after that, their child will go to work for her for 6 months' time.
I see.
In
Then
repayment for services rendered.
that's a doozy.
It is, and it's all the worse because, well, often these parents are already tight on funds, given their
Is,
proclivities, and that makes it even harder to feed the family. And, well, since she houses them and feeds them in the meantime, he kind of grimaces, but he shrugs. Some see it as a good thing.
how many children has she taken so far?
A
All of them.
few.
All of them. The whole time.
Well, maybe several is a better word. And he kind of thinks, I believe this was number 8. Over perhaps the last month. People are beginning to grow desperate, but, well, he shrugs. Like I said, if it's something they agree to, I have no one to enforce a ban. And thinking on it, you have not really seen a town guard here. It was Ismark and Irina was the other one with a sword, and they seem to be keeping things running, just the two of them.
Gotta go full Reagan, dude. War on drugs.
Right?
Nixon, but close enough.
Yeah, whatever.
I thought you were talking about Reaganomics.
No, that's what I thought he was going to get at first, too.
That's
Trickle
why the
down
town is
pie
like this in the
economics.
first time, or the first place.
Yeah. Yeah, surely it'll trickle down from Castle Ravenloft any day now.
Yeah.
Straight out of his fucking chamber pot.
Right? But yeah, you can tell he's not happy with the situation. And like, you can tell he's holding something back, even without a roll. Ismark's not a particularly good liar, so he's just kind of like fidgeting under, I assume you're giving him a fairly pointed look, and he's just kind of fidgeting at all of this. Obviously, given your backstory, I assume you're not too happy about this.
No.
And he just kind of, well, if you're all back, and I suppose if there's little enough of pressure that you feel safe to be traveling with Irina, if you might all look in on it for me, I would be appreciative.
Yeah, we'll pass this information along to them as well too.
Thank you. Right. Let me see to that note, and then we can all reconvene. And yeah, he just dashes into the study, and you can see, like, unrolls a fresh parchment, pulls out a quill, and starts writing, like, a basically, sorry I missed you, back later today note to this woman he's supposed to meet with. Only takes him a minute or two, and he kind of stops on the inside wall of the study and grabs, like, a little day pack, and also straps on his sword belt with, like, a little short sword on his hip. Right. Are they still at the church? Or
They should be, though. That wasn't. I didn't leave too long ago, so I
yeah,
assume
maybe
they
like
were
20
probably
minutes.
still. I assume that they're still probably tending to Doru as well too, as also mending the church.
Right. Well, let's head on over that way. And he locks up the front door. He can't barricade it, but if he's not home, but he'll lock it, and even the rings on the outside, in addition to the door lock, he puts a padlock on. And he just like rummages in his bag, takes out just like a tack, and will just hammer the note into the front door for her to tear off whenever she gets here. And we'll follow you back towards the church. Is there anything else you'd like to do while you're kind of out on your solo excursion here?
There's really not a lot going on in this town, so probably not.
There really isn't, unfortunately. Let's see.
We have so
Yeah,
much other shit going on. It's a blessing.
yeah, that's true.
We really
Um,
cannot add more to our to-do list.
Fair enough. Yeah, so you escort him back to the church. And I guess now I do need Ismark here, despite deleting him. I have to go find him. One moment. Um, but yeah, you would. Whoops. No.
Also, Rictavio's with us.
He is. When you came into town, he said he was heading off to the tavern, if I recall
Yes.
correctly. So he's
You're correct.
not here at the church.
I just didn't remember him being mentioned yet today. I was like, I should
Oh,
say
not
something
today.
so
I'm
we all
sorry. I
remember
should
he's
have.
here.
I know he was here with you,
I
but he
forgot
was
about
not
it until just a few
with
minutes
you.
ago. Yeah.
But yeah, Ismark would kind of follow you in Bralmir and just kind of Ervir. I assume you're, pick a room.
Yeah,
just
that
do,
was
like,
kind of why I
this.
was there. I was like, yeah, pick one.
And Irina, I think, would be just kind of like helping Narlug, just literally, because to mend things, you need all the
Holding
pieces
it up to the
together. So
wall.
probably
Yeah.
like literally, yeah, like holding things in place and just
Right
helping you
there.
gather
All right.
scraps.
That's not level. Who taught you this?
Exactly.
Men's the wrong pieces of something. They're looking at it like, oh fuck, that's not right.
And I'm basically kind of picturing mending as like, how if there's a smudge on something, like lick your thumb and try and rub it off or whatever.
Yeah.
But you're like an acetylene torch under your thumb, just like slowly, welding things back together with magic.
Yeah, Narlar's got a mending mask he's got to wear because the light's so
Yeah.
bright it fucks with his retinas.
But yeah, so you would arrive to kind of people in the middle of their repairs. And Ayakabachi, you're by now certainly able to be doing whatever you'd like to be in the interim. But I think Ismark would kind of step into the actual sanctuary, and seeing Irina would call out to her. Well, I certainly wasn't expecting to see you back so soon, dear sister. But it is good to see you. And she'd kind of turn and like there's a momentary wince, but like an eye roll. Well, what can I say? I just couldn't stay away. The lovely atmosphere just drew me back home. And they kind of try and keep a straight face for a moment, and then, they laugh, and they'll quick sibling hug, and you can hear they're kind of like catching up. But yeah, Ervir, you've taken the time to examine both patients, and by now they're starting to come around.
I
And
assume
if
there
you
would also
wanted
be a
to,
detect magic ritual in there somewhere, just to
okay,
make sure that I don't get
yeah,
any remnants of shit.
that's fair.
Maybe well, maybe something on Father Donovich, I suppose. If there is any magic, though, then I would make the assumption that that was a Doru got loose and bit him
Mm,
incident, but because I figure the blades on his wrist are from feeding Doru,
mhm.
and so either the injury on his neck was an unintentional bite or
That looks
just an
like a
injury from
blade
thrashing.
wound to you, rather than like a bite wound.
Okay,
It's like more up.
I
No,
thought
no,
that's what
yeah,
you said, but
yes,
I was
they're
like, surely
all.
he meant the arms, right? Like
Mm.
versus the neck. I was like, that's crazy.
No, like more up, like the bandages were visible on his neck from where they were over
Yeah,
the top of the shoulder. He just picked a. You get the idea he wasn't in the most stable mindset. He picked a hunk of meat where he didn't feel like he'd be hurting anything too bad to cut shallowly and just get better blood than too many wounds to one arm too much in a row.
gotcha.
Sorry if I misled with that. Yes, that's
No,
also
no,
clearly
okay.
like a
That
bleeding
was me
from it.
making some leaps in my own mind.
But if you were to detect magic as a ritual, I think we can time that out about the time that everyone's getting back. As you'd first check Doru, and there's nothing lingering other than the faint aroma or aura of your previous healing magic, which just lingers for a short while, but you don't sense anything deeper or darker under that. Father Donovich does wear a holy symbol that is like, oh, so faintly magical. Um, you get the feeling it's like, they sell the good ones and the clergy make the really good ones, but when you visit a temple, you can pick up a wooden one for a
Yeah,
copper piece.
for a
That
souvenir.
level of like technically blessed, you pick up from his holy symbol. Um, Also, he himself is very, 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 very faintly magical. He mentioned once being able to work simple miracles and not being able to anymore.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that. I thought I remembered that.
Hmm. And you heard similar, actually, back in Valaki,
Yes.
uh, that he has. It sounded like he still might have the most faint of things, cantrips, basically, but that he once could work real healing magic and no longer can. But as you are casting over Father Donovich, doing like your final checks, and Ralmir and Ismark come in, you kind of like lean back and, like brush across your forehead. You've been sitting here ministering over there, moment to rest. And as you do, you glance up, and for the briefest moment, you catch something spherical, strongly magical in the corner of the room, and then it just winks out of existence. And as you focus on it, because the aura would linger, you pull divination as the school.
And is that like I may not know the exact spell, but is the concept of it common enough that I'm just like, oh, we were being scryed on.
Probably. I
I
think
don't
that's something you could
have
probably
Arcana
draw.
checked or trained,
Hmm.
so I don't think a roll would necessarily make sense. I don't think that's something Irby would really be familiar with.
I
Although I
think
guess there's some divination in religion.
there is. Um,
Yeah,
I
fuck
think
it. I'll give
it's,
an Arcana check.
yeah, something you could give it a roll for, because I think the concept is something you are familiar with, just because I
Especially when
don't think
it
that would be a
runs
secret in
when
a
you get
world where
notice
there's
it. It's
magic.
like, oh
Yeah,
fuck.
right.
Augurary's divination, it's like that's the most God spell there could be. You're just talking to God.
That's true. You do talk directly to God and ask yes or no question.
Yeah,
I could also just identify it.
So,
that's a good roll.
that is a quite good roll. I think yes, you would recognize that as the remote observation component of the scrying spell.
What a voyeuristic little shit. Which, if it winked out of existence, I think he says out loud.
So, Ralmir, you walk past the room where Ervir is treating the the priest, and you hear, "What a voyeuristic little shit," under Ervir's breath. No. But yes, Ervir, that moment of frustration, this kind of, deep sigh. What do you want to do with that information? Because you can hear everybody kind of regrouping.
Keep it to myself for the moment. Because
Okay.
I think there's a lot to figure out from, like, a logistical standpoint. Like, alright, I noticed it now. Was it
But what are
it
you
was
even gonna do about it?
was it watching us? Was it watching them?
Mhm.
How long has it been here? Have we been being scryed on for far longer than I realize? And if
Right.
so, what does it matter? And yeah, even if we do know, what do we do about it, really?
Mhm.
It's like, we could book it, but, how far are we going to get? If he was going to do something, he'd do it.
Fair. Okay. Then yeah, Ismark and Irina make pleasantries. They catch up kind of on what's going on. You could, hear him wince, or not hear, see him wince a little bit as she explains your plan in vague details. Not with how and why per se, but to have Davian Martikov take over control of Valaki, and just, well, I haven't met the man in nigh on a decade now, but his letters are always terse. Um,
He's a curmudgeon, you can say it.
and he would kind of chuckle. Well, yes, but by the sound of it, if you've convinced him to at least attempt such a thing, he'll probably be better for the townsfolk in the end. Um, well, I'm afraid there's not much I can do from here other than to ensure that what few exports we do have towards Valaki, will smoothly continue to flow that way, even if the leadership of the town does change, especially if you all have a bit of a hand in its backing. Um, and he can't help but add like an awkward, you may not have taken Irina anywhere safe for the long term, but the fact that you've gotten her out and about and have kept her in one piece is still fulfilling the um, intent of the contract after all. So you've
Well,
all done well in my book,
the
even if you
real
haven't quite
problem
completed your goal.
is nowhere's really safe.
Um,
So, as far as we can tell, the safest place to be so far is directly with us.
and she lets out like a little sheepish, like,
Which is also kind of awkward because we're not always in the safest of positions, as you can see.
true, but. And he kind of like looks around the room and Gnarlik, you've patched up like that whole side of the room. Everything that isn't like the roof timbers. Like you've got the walls back looking reasonably respectable. You've piece by piece moved and like worked the benches back together. You certainly all seem capable of things that we haven't seen in these parts in quite some time. Um, and you're probably right that with you is the safest place she could be. Short of keeping her locked up in a church somewhere, he says, wincing and kind of realizing the
Even that
comparison.
in Valaki would not work. As soon as Isaac catches wind that she's in that church, he's kicking that door down. And then we're putting her at risk as well as all of the churchgoers.
And you can see him kind
In
of
case you didn't know about that, he's super weird.
Yeah,
One
I was
of
gonna
the,
say you can see him kind of not get that, and Irina kind of cuts in.
Yakobachi knows all about it. He can explain better.
I was gonna say when he mentions Ezek, does
Yeah, you can
he
be around.
Yeah, does he like react in any way?
You can see he looks
the lesser Mr.
like a
Ismark.
little bit puzzled at it. Irina has mentioned that they knew of Ezek and had met him a few times, like way back. But Ismark looks more kind of confused about why Ezek would be a problem than anything.
So they obviously
'Cause
don't
again,
know why
like-
he's obsessed with her.
Right.
Okay.
There's no immediate
Or
like
that he
guilty
is
look
obsessed
on
with
his
her.
face.
That's new
Right.
news
It
to
seems
them.
like he doesn't even know he's a problem.
Like I heard of the guy. But
Exactly. Knew him 20 years ago when we were all 10. But like, you know.
Did he have a weird arm then too?
No, and Irina did say that when he was really young. He was just a normal kid.
Some know him as Diddy Ezek.
Dude, that's Strahd. He's fucking kidnapping all the women, but also like he changed Doru,
And
but then
also the
sent
young
him back.
boys.
No, he sent Doru back. He's like, you know what? I tried it. I wanted to experiment this one time. It wasn't for me. I'm gonna cut you loose.
But if you
Here's
say
a
anything,
cab fare.
right?
Poor kid. But yeah, Irina cuts in and kind of explains like something's wrong with him now. And I had heard, you know, her talking like I'd heard he was a monster, but I didn't realize quite how literal it was. And while I might be safe from undead threats in the church, that doesn't stop a regular old mortal from coming to drag me out. And he gets it after you collectively explain.
Got a plan for him too.
Right. Well, in the interest of upholding the position of my office, I don't want to know too much about all of those.
You wouldn't believe
But-
us if we told you. So
And
that's
again-
okay.
Irina kind of like nods, like, yeah, they're probably right. He just goes, I'll leave that to my sister and the rest of you. What you've done here for us is wonderful. He says, looking at like all the repairs that have been done. Thank you, Narlug. I wish there was much I could give in repayment, but this will allow us to at least have anyone who wishes to return attend services again. And I think that'll do wonders for the morale of the people around here.
Anytime. Narlug likes to flex when he can.
Of course. But yeah, he offers you like a proper bow.
If Father Donovich explains this as miracle of the morning, Lord, I'm sure that will allow the townsfolk to have some renewed fervor in their deity of choice.
He thinks on it. I
We could
suppose-
put in a good word for Lord Kellenvor too.
I would be happy to do so, assuming we can convince Father Donovich to go along with the whole thing. One way or the other, what you did here for young Doru is certainly a miraculous act. And I think you're right, letting people know about it. And he looks over at Narlag with a bit of a smile, maybe with some embellishments. I think you're right. It would be good for everyone to hear about the wondrous things that have happened here. But if I may, is this what brought you all the way back here?
Yes.
Oh.
Sorry?
No, it's more, and I was gonna say, you see like on his face more of like a, I didn't think they
I
would
shot you a
care.
finger gun when I said yes that you can see.
No, yeah, fair enough. But yeah, there's just like a, huh. Perhaps previous adventurers that have come through were not so kind. Or perhaps he just didn't really think you guys would see them as that important. Um, well, we greatly appreciate you making the effort. I know it's a long trip from Valaki, and certainly not the safest one. So, thank you all, sincerely, and I think it'll do a lot for the town. Um, is there any assistance I could possibly offer? Really, I feel bad. I know I offered you the gold for Irina's safe passage, but, well, uh, that deal's a deal, he says, looking at Ralmir. Contracts. You know how it is.
And those
I
can get changed.
won't be able to. Or go ahead.
Those can get changed in various different ways.
And you could tell he's just too much of an innocent, good boy to understand what you're talking about, but he goes, what?
Don't worry about it.
Labrador mode. Right. Well, surely at least we can supply you for the trip back, and, if you would like a place to stay out of the rain, all comes down to whether or not you guys want to go back to Valaki today. You can see Irina going, well, brother, we were thinking it might be a short visit, but she looks around at all of you for confirmation.
When we
Either
get
way,
we
we
get
won't
back
be able to stay
together.
for long.
Yeah, I was just gonna let everybody know that found those man footprints in the basement. There might have been some type of struggle. I wouldn't be surprised if someone else might have been succumbed to the same problem that our small prey friend, half prey, half hunter boy, came entranced with. So could be a
Is that
possibility.
not townspeople helping father with door?
Could have been them helping. Maybe one of them contracted something in the process.
I'm not sure how it works, but I'm sure once Father Donovich awakes, he can enlighten us a bit. And speaking of which, that would be the favor I ask in return. I cannot stay here for all too long, whether it's today or tomorrow. But someone I trust to check in on the two of them. If you could do that, Ismark, they very tired. It's going to be very taxing on Doru specifically. You can make sure he does not overeat. But he does need to start eating and drinking again. But he could become very ill if he eats anything particularly heavy.
He nods and he listens. Yes, I'm certain I can, well, do as much as possible myself, and there will be others who will volunteer to sit by his side and make sure he recuperates. I won't be able to be here all day, of course, but I will see it done. I promise you.
Very good.
And yeah.
Does Ralmir share the information about the wheel track and the child labor?
I was gonna. I wasn't sure if they were like still sleeping or not though, so I didn't want to.
The other two.
That to the church.
Yeah, I was gonna kind of say the track stuff.
Well, you can all kind of
amongst
regroup
us.
out into the main room if
Yeah.
you'd like.
Yeah.
It was just us.
We don't all need to be. No.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm just gonna relay the information. I just didn't want to do it in front of the.
Yeah, that's what I kind of meant by the footprint thing too. Like I was trying to tell the homies. Cause yeah, Yakobachi would be very interested in helping a bunch of defenseless prey who need to grow up and become something. And it sounds like a tire track that we missed it on the way. He'd be super interested in that too.
Yeah, then when we leave, though, like I pointed out to the tracks to Yakobachi if it didn't get washed away yet.
Garlic's down to free some kids that could cook pies for him.
win-win. You could
Right.
actually pay him too, so it wouldn't even be like, be even. It's still child labor, but you're making a living,
Yeah.
Also, one thing I was like wondering though is like, what if I like did like, if I like did disguise self as Granny though to ask for like more money.
Jeez.
Saying
People
that
that are
there's
so broke that they're giving their children up? What kind of infinite wealth pocket do you think you're going to hit?
Bromir ended up coming back with a couple kids.
Right.
Listen, guys.
hear me out.
I went out and got my own child slave.
Sound like a hell of an idea.
I cannot have
Well,
Valmir try to explain to me how Jim Crow laws weren't actually that bad in my Strahd campaign.
If putting up a vote, I'd say we could leave tonight. I don't need to stay here overnight, and I'd definitely like to check
Yeah.
out. Maybe we'll find
The only reason
something about.
Narlig would want to stay is to check out Homeboy's library
Yeah.
or
Okay.
bookshelf,
It
whatever
would be
he's
nice,
got.
if there was a
Sure.
library here, maybe learn something about, as much as we can.
Sure. You mean at the church, or do you mean at
Oh no, at the
Ismark's
church,
house?
we already fucking ransacked the church.
Yeah,
didn't we?
Ismark's house. I remember him having like a bookshelf, didn't he? I think that's where I read
Sure.
up on
God,
history of
Zach
Strahd.
ran through a lot of titles though before, and I don't think it was too much
I
that
gave
caught
you
your eye
some
at the time.
quick summaries. But you did notice that he has some like historical books and stuff. Is there something in particular you were looking for more information on? Because you got the feeling he had like
If he had anything like about what is Sealy,
uh
the dark
wait,
side of the
who?
Fae or whatever.
Oh, the Unseelie.
Yeah, the Unsealy.
The what?
The Unseelie court. The two Fae
Oh,
noble lineages are the Seelie and the Unseelie. The Seelie are like the
Yeah, I
good
don't know if he'd
Fae,
have
and
anything in there
the
about that, but
Unseelie are the dark Fae. Um, hmm.
or the history of Barovia and Strahd's conquest that Casimir alluded to.
Not a bad idea for either of those things. I think while you probably don't find like a book of Feywild lore that would help like with too much detail, I think you might be able to take the time to like research any Fey creatures that might occasionally appear in Barovia, because the
Okay.
Feywild touches all of the major planes.
Right. That's the only reason why I asked, because I figured, there's a slight chance maybe there's
Mhm.
anything about it.
I think that's actually an interesting question. Give me one moment, because this is not, I can tell you for sure that that's not like a pre-written answer in the mod, but I have an idea of how to find a good one for you.
Okay.
While he's looking, just to review for our sakes.
And if that's something you just want to like send me later on, I
Sure.
want to take some time with it. That's not a big deal either. I know I'm not going to go anywhere with it in this session.
Yeah. I go ahead, Mike, in the interim, because I might be able to give you like just a quick answer, regardless.
I'm just gonna kind of
Go ahead.
rehash that. Part of this trip was to stop by the Sarahpool Vistani encampment
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
to get the last of our readings.
Mhm.
And then stop at the old bone grinder, which it sounds like we've just kind of been asked to go do that anyway. So as far as staying in town or not tonight, I think depends on how much daylight we have. Especially because of our Strahd's pissed warning, maybe we really don't want to sleep or travel at night if we could help it.
That's a good idea.
That's fair.
Yeah. How much daylight do we got?
Like a half day here.
It's
if I recall.
about midday now. And I think it would be like fairly easy for you to still hit everything on the way back, unless you lingered for hours in any particular place if you leave now. You might have to kind of hustle on the way back, but I don't mean like not gonna force march you, but you might not want to like a short rest on the road back if you're gonna make it before dark.
Mm.
But again, what's the worst? If you get delayed half an hour or whatever, you might be making the final dash
Yeah.
at a faster pace.
Yeah, once we get outside the gate, I mean, it shouldn't be. I feel like danger goes down significantly there.
Right.
Mhm. Um, I do have an answer for you real quick, Narlug. So you dig a little bit into what you might find in Ismark's book as far as the Fae are, referred to. And you don't find an individual book on the Fae, but you do find some records of like where people have come through the fog from and where creatures have come through the fog from. Um, and you note that there are records of adventurers speaking of realms like Faerun and Greyhawk and Eberron. But also, occasionally, things do come from other less normal planes. There are records of some Fey creatures that have been found in the southwestern regions of Barovia, near the mountains that are up there. Um, and they're just like observational notes from a historian, so it's not really like written like a textbook. It's just like somebody's notes.
Right.
And it says, among all the people that I have polled in and among the township of Berez, which you know by now is a ruin. That's the town in the southwest that was flooded and taken
Yeah.
over by scarecrows. Um, Many such report occasional dealings with the people of the Feywild, though none state any who have known the Summer Queen, which you would know as a nerd is referring to Titania, who is the queen of the Seelie Fae. All those who have made their way into the lands of Barovia have served the Queen of Air and Darkness, the Queen of the Unseelie Court. Many manner of darklings and pixies of an ill nature have been spotted in these lands these last years, and yet none of their brighter counterparts. Perhaps this bears investigating deeper. And you check the date on this observation was
Mhm.
118 years ago.
118 years, damn, that's a long time.
It is, but you also know that most of those fey creatures are immortal in the classic sense.
Okay.
But an interesting thing to you, right? It seems like only dark aligned Fae have ever been spotted here, which is a weird. Again, I'm just rolling with your high int score here. I think you would automatically piece together, huh? Borden mentioned that he could feel his patron very strongly here too. That's a weird coincidence.
Right. The dark aligned one, especially.
Mm-hmm. Yes, she's known as the Queen of Air and Darkness. She does not have a proper name.
Okay. Awesome.
And yes, also mention specifically of Darklings, which are a thing you've probably heard of but don't know too much about. You know they're humanoid and they're kind of like halfling sized, and they have unusual uh, abilities to control light and shadow. But that's probably all you'd know off the top of your head.
There's Berez right there. Dope.
Yep. Yeah, and if you guys do want, I don't know, I know you've been making marks on the overall map. So if you wanted to, where is that fucking overview? I don't know if you wanted to make any marks there. But yes, Berez over here on this map.
Yoink. Little circle.
Mm-hmm. But yes, if you want to make your trip back, you could certainly make it to, at the very least, Madame Eva's, which appears to be like a loose settlement, but a settlement by the river, which provides a natural barrier between it and Ravenloft and all of that. No matter what. And The trek from there is long, but that would at least give you like a safe turnaround point if you somehow got waylaid. So if you're talking about leaving today, I think Ismark would express to you like he understands. You stop back in just to make sure that the vampire hadn't gotten loose and laid waste to the town. I think he listened, Akabachi, when you made a point of like, what if someone was bitten? And he would mention to you like, again, don't have a lot of people to enforce any such thing, but if we do have folks coming back to the church, I'll ask if Father Donovich can point out to me who it was that helped him, and we can make sure that they're checked for any such wounds. You're right, we wouldn't want to let such a thing fester.
And I don't think you could track it necessarily, because we've seen several people with bites not become
Correct.
anything.
But he understands the concern regardless. But again, may not be an expert on how it really works, Irvir.
Right.
So, but you're right. Irina was bitten multiple times and did not turn. Borden was bitten at least once and did not turn. Yet. No, just kidding. But yeah, you would think a single bite wouldn't be enough to do it, but who knows? Better safe than sorry. But yeah, he understands that he thanks you again. He would make sure that, you're provided with rations for the trip back. And would thank you for both the time and the care in coming back to make sure that they were all right. And as you're leaving, just one final. And if with you is the safest place, so be it. But do look after my sister, would you?
It's worked out so far.
And
You have
he
my word, we'll
will.
continue to do our best.
Seeing like a look from Irina, kind of like raised eyebrow, he will reach into his bag and will produce a coin pouch with 50 gold. She has convinced me that as far as she's concerned, your contractual obligations have been met. So better to give you the gold now, especially if making sure that you yourselves are better prepared. We'll be making the same preparations for my sister. And he will hand over the 50 gold reward.
Reveal it to Narlook. What are your contractor rates? Gesture towards the gold purse.
Oh, asking about the repairs.
Well, mostly to be like, hey, Irvir's not gonna like make a grab for the gold. As long as he's
Right.
being outfitted, he doesn't really give a shit about the money.
That's fair.
But kind of acknowledge that Narlock did something that to Irvir is very uncharacteristic and was truly benevolent for no reason other than to help someone else. He wants to reward that behavior. And
So you're gonna give the gold to Narlock?
That's kind of what he wants
Unfortunately,
to do with
Narlock
it.
has no desire for gold. Just knowledge and women of the night. And,
Those aren't
and
free.
meat pies.
Those
Well,
aren't free either.
He's already got his 10 gold. And Rawlmere owes him a pie, so like he said, he did it strictly just so he could flex his magic.
I kind of like that though.
Yeah.
It's it ended up doing a good thing anyway, but it was just a good a good way to show off. I do appreciate that. But yeah, let's see. Sorry.
Narlock's gotten a lot more powerful on his adventure. He's feeling himself,
Mm-hmm.
Rawlmere goes shopping a lot. So if he could add it to his
He doesn't always
inventory.
pay though.
Well,
I mean,
Shopping, looting, it's the same thing.
Yakobachi will be like, Ralmir, hunts aren't cheap. Would you like to have some type of contest for that gold?
What are you trying? What are you trying to do? You want to play some cards?
Well, you're really good at cards, and I don't really understand the rules completely.
It's all going into the war chest, right?
But let's do it anyway.
You guys
Come on.
just want a contest. You
Steal-
can just have a contest.
Steal the cards.
Forgot how does the.
I'm gonna roll a d20, and if it's better than yours, you roll 2 of them because you're good at cards. Or something. I don't know what you want to do.
Just gonna play a game of war.
Go fish.
And here's that sleight of hand check.
Yep, I was gonna say. Sorry, I was reading a thing. What are you guys up to for gambling for gold?
Damn!
We're game. I won.
I got a 2 pair.
Fair enough. I like how you try to give the gold to Narlug. Narlug's like, no. And Ayakobachi and Rolmir immediately run over to the corner to put their heads together and shoot dice to see who gets to keep it. Like,
Damn 7.
uh,
Always rolling snake eyes.
very funny.
Aces and eights, baby.
All right.
I'm out of pity though. I'm gonna flip the Akabashi 10 of it.
Fair
It's all,
enough.
or is it all going in the
It's basically all
Just throw-
going in the pot
Yeah.
anyway.
Right, just throw
It's
it in
a
your
war
inventory.
chest
Just throw it
fund.
in your inventory, and you'll just say that like as I'm walking away, head down, you just sneak it into my coin purse. I don't even notice.
Reverse pickpocket.
Exactly, reverse
Some
pickpocket.
gold.
Hey man,
So I'll
sometimes
add
you gotta
10, you
plant
add
some
40.
evidence, you know.
You had 40,
Okay.
Ralmir.
Too funny.
Also, we gotta grab Van Richten from the
Yeah,
tavern,
we gotta go grab him real quick.
Yes. Good point.
Which I
That
assume we
time
can
I
mostly
forgot
yada
about
yada.
Everton. Yeah. You collect him. I think you would
He's
find
learned fuck
him.
all.
Actually,
Oh.
you would find him, clearly annoying the crap out of the 3 people in there in the middle of the day, just trying to have a drink and eat their lunch. But he's made a couple copper, and funnily enough, I think what he would find is what Rolmir found, and he'll bring up that. Yes, he overheard from some of the people in the tavern that another child was taken, and will kind of bring up the whole thing about how that kind grandmother may not be as kind as we think. Which Rolmir, I don't know how into that you got with the group. I know that got slightly talked
Yeah, I
over
mean,
again.
I pretty much like went through like the
Yeah.
the whole thing too.
And everybody seemed on board. The one thing that he would, I think, maybe point out is that it doesn't seem normal. It doesn't quite seem normal to me how accepting the folk were. Sort of shrugged it off like it were some normal occurrence. I think selling the children's probably bottom of the normal thing bucket list. Normal thing list. Folks here are fucking weird.
There's 2 connections to make there. Because we know where Granny's going to, right? We know where Granny's base is. We've been
Mhm.
told that information. So, 1, we are warned away for it being dangerous. 2,
Mhm.
that's a long ass trek for an old woman to make. A
It is.
long ass fucking trek. Not to mention just how dangerous Barovia is as a whole. So, an old woman to just make that trek on her own is insane. Hauling a cart of shit?
There's magic afoot.
There's a lot up with that.
Mhm.
We got get the mystery machine and investigate.
But yes, for now, you collect him. Ismark and Irina will, again, hug and say their goodbyes. Ismark will walk you to the edge of town, again, offering his thanks. And you set out into the early afternoon gloom. As you cross over the Ivlis River, which is this little river that runs past Madame Eva's encampment in the Sairpool and Barovia Village, it's like there's almost an invisible divide in the weather. Like you step across the bridge and suddenly it's 5 degrees warmer and it's just foggy, no longer rainy. And though you look back across and you can see the storm and it grows deeper the more you get close to Ravenloft, it really does seem like it can't quite cross. Which is interesting. Again, like there's an invisible shower curtain running along the river that's keeping the clouds out, basically. But you're able to pick your way through the misty woods and find that little footpath that turns north towards the Sairpool encampment.
Actually, after we go over the bridge and notice that
Mhm.
weather pattern, because it struck me as probably a good time to mention it, so will it strike Orbir is that when I was looking after Father Donovich, I'm near confident Strahd was scrying that church.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of implications there. And I don't know what to make of it or do with it all yet, but I thought I should let you all know.
For the first time, you get the Von Richten voice out of Rictavio, and he doesn't change back visually, but he does kind of have too much of a concern with that to keep the act up at the same time, and you can see grabs his chin. Well, if he's been scrying on us, that's potentially a huge fucking problem. If he has any stake in what's happening in Valaki itself, do we need to worry about his intervention again?
His intervention's always a concern, right? But what can we do?
It may seem grim, but I see it as a good thing. As long as we stay interesting to Lord Strahd and he's listening, then he's interested. And really, we should be scared when we aren't being scryed on and we aren't being watched. It means our times have come.
There have been plenty of people who have said, well, eventually when he gets bored, he destroys his toys. So he shrugs. Maybe the crazy one has the right of it. And he kind of gives you a little nod, Akabachi, and walks up ahead again. Not much we can do anyway, he calls over his shoulder. Unless we wanted to pick a room, maybe two, where we can make scrying proof. But it's not something I can do on the move.
Yeah, maybe back at Valaki. One of the
Something to
rooms.
keep in mind for the future. Once we have different plans to make.
Mm-hmm. And that is a very fair point.
Is there a way we can make like little tinfoil hats?
Make a Faraday cage?
Yeah.
Some Magneto helmets, dude.
Non-detection spell is literally just put a foil hat in your head, and all
Tinfoil
divination
hat.
magic just stops working.
It just
It's like,
bounces
whoa,
off.
whoa.
Funny. Amazing. But yes, as you kind of pick through the woods, making your way forward, it's certainly something to mull over, Irvir, and it's good to
probably
make
also
people
worth
aware of.
mentioning that my assumption was that it's Strahd, but I don't actually know that for a fact.
Yes.
Literally anyone can cast that if they have the ability, but
True.
how many
And
other
it's
people we run into that could?
right. That's what I was just gonna say. It's not particularly high level magic, but you haven't seen anything even like a cantrip from the local populace. So, it would
It's either
stand
him,
out.
his piece of shit steward, or some other unfortunately powerful source that we have yet to meet.
Well, the unfortunate truth of it, right, is that it takes a staff to run a castle, doesn't it?
Yeah, at least the steward.
So it
I
could
don't
be,
know. Takes a staff to run a
yeah.
castle because of the staff in the castle.
Well, that's partly true, but what do you think he is? Some sort of dime store brooding vampire with musty drapes and dust everywhere?
Oh, I think he puts on a Romanian accent, but gives off really rapey vibes.
That is true.
Mm.
Um,
My command person is charming to like me and hopefully offsetting the rapey vibes I'm putting out.
but true though. But yes, as you all kind of discuss this, you eventually make your way through this misty stretch of woods. And though up ahead across the river, the storm still rages high above, it's relatively peaceful here, though some of the mist from the waterfall does blow across the camp occasionally on the breeze, leaving a little bit of a chill in the air. Um, and you, let's see, would find yourselves, I think, back welcomed into Madame Eva's tent, unless there's anywhere else that you would like to stop in advance. In fact, similarly again, she would be waiting for you. She is a
Dogobachi!
fortune teller, after all. Yes, it is Dogobachi, which I assume you are not still a dog.
No, I'll just get rid of it. Oh no!
But similarly, Irina and also, where did his token go?
I just deleted it because I'm doing
Dropped
all
him
the.
on before I moved all of you. No, not you. I dropped Von Richten onto the map to be accurate, and he went away.
Eventually, though, I want to talk to the fortune teller first, but I do want to see if these guys have anything to buy.
Sure. If you kind of, glance around at what they do have laid out, and there are a few things obviously for sale, it seems mostly like mundane things to you, though there are a couple like more exotic bits and bobs here. Like one of them has a couple of bolts of silk that are like in these weird geometric looking patterns that you don't recognize as being anything you've quite seen before. Um, and also he seems to have a few other more like artificy doodads. The big thing he's displaying is a teapot that heats itself when you push down on the handle.
Yo.
He's got electric kettle. That's cool.
Yeah, man. How
Yeah.
much is the electric kettle?
He kind of waffles back and forth, but it's not easy thing to come by. I traveled, well, a long way from here. I could let it go for maybe 120 gold.
Holy hell, I could buy a set. I have played for that.
Seems to you like a minor, magical item. Um, but yeah, you spot mostly mundane things. I think that's the one thing that seems like overtly magical. But there's all sorts of jewelry and like weapons that seem to be normal weapons, but maybe made in styles you don't quite realize, like different hand grips and wraps and whatnot.
Do anyone have any silver they're willing to sell?
uh, um, you're looking for like lump silver, or you're looking
Any of it?
for
Coins,
silvered weapons?
chunks, weapons, anything you got, because we'll make them if at least we can get the silver.
They'll certainly make trades for silver coins if you wanted to swap like gold for silver. And a silver piece is just made of silver.
Yeah, cool. We can melt those down.
Yeah.
I would trade as much as they'd be willing to trade me.
Let's see.
I don't
So
know
I'm
what
trying
the
to think about how
conversion rate would
much they
be.
might realistically
Right.
have.
Because it's
So it's not
normally
just the
10,
it's
but they
10
might
to
be a little more
1.
rare because it's like we live in a world where silver's probably
Right.
got multiple purposes.
I think they're probably willing to give you a 9 to 1 ratio
Okay.
on up to 20 gold.
All right, cool.
So up to 180 silver.
Yep, I'm down with that.
So if something's 200 gold worth of silver, that's 2,000 silver pieces.
Correct.
If you
So if we have 18 gold worth of silver. Okay.
Yes.
18 gold
Was-
worth of silver, exactly.
Correct. So basically, you lose 2 gold, but that's a lot of silver coins. You have to remember that's like, like for what Ayakabachi's thinking, that's certainly enough to coat a weapon or two.
Right.
Depending
Coat a
on the size of the
weapon, or
weapon.
maybe a dagger at least.
I have
Rapier.
some, I think I had some silver from the knife shop from Valaki.
You might have.
Yeah, that could help too. Throw that in the bag.
Yeah. I mean,
Silver,
if you're
some
starting to make a
arrowheads.
stockpile, yeah, silver, some arrowheads. The important thing to think of is kind of what Ayakabachi had said there. Like, it's not a common coin here. They do exist. But most things you've seen have been in copper for the common folk, and anything higher has been in gold pieces. So you haven't had a lot of reason to make too much change.
One vial of holy water is 25 GP worth of powdered silver.
Yes,
We could
which
start
to me
chunking
always
that out,
seemed
too.
insane.
We could start chunking that out too. That's a great. We could with 180. I could probably silver a couple of a handful of arrows. You could make some holy water. Be have a nice little.
It's
variety.
25 GP worth of powdered silver. You have
okay.
18.
Yeah.
It's GP.
Which
Yes.
that's what I was like, this is a crazy ass conversion. That's like enough to coat weapons versus
right.
make a vial of holy water.
So the reason is that coating a weapon, the cost is for the artisan. It's not so much for the raw material.
Yeah. Takes like 5 silver to coat something, but you need to pay them like money to do it.
And the reason that I said that much silver would be enough for you guys is assuming you're either doing it yourself or using an unskilled smith. I think Zaki's right. Somebody who really knows what they're doing could use the smallest amount of the raw material, but then you're paying for a master artisan. But you're right, Mike. It is a lot of fucking silver, but it's used as part of the ritual. It doesn't all fit into the vial.
No, yeah.
Right, you gotta throw some in the air. You gotta like sprinkle it over there. You gotta
having a material also be a currency is just a weird,
right,
like conversion system. That I'm like, what?
And
the
who's
fuck?
dusting these silver pieces? Just sitting there. Just
well, and that's the
dusting
same thing.
up.
Because that's the other part of it. So you're not just paying for the raw silver. You're paying for somebody to process it. And yes, that does mean that it might be variable, but it's divine magic. It's about intent more than it is about science. So like, yes, you're paying for somebody to do the work at the shavings and blah blah blah, and that ends up with 50 gold worth, or 25 gold worth of silver powder that you use. Then that just goes up in smoke, and the bottle itself is what is blessed. Magic is fucking weird for any consistency in exchange rate or supply and demand.
Right. I think it just comes down to, hey, we made it 25 in the shop, so this spell's 25 too.
It's for balance, yes.
Yeah.
It's 25 because it's 50 in the shop, so it's the half cost to craft it
Does
yourself.
anyone else have
like
any good
anything
ideas
else.
to buy anything?
Not this electric kettle though.
It's pretty dope.
What would you say? Well, you were asking 120 for it.
He nods.
120 for what?
That electric
The
kettle.
tea kettle.
Oh.
Well, it's not electric. It's magical.
Yes.
Close enough.
I mean, Darla go pitch in just because, magical.
I feel like 120 is asking a bit much. Though, how did you go down to 75?
Oh, the nat 20.
I can't believe life savings are going to the electric
Narlug's like,
kettle.
I'll help him. He's just standing behind Ramer, so fucking this big thing, and Ramer's like, how about 75? He's like,
It does actually provide more of a use than you'd think, because it lets you have a hot meal without having a campfire, which is really something. You can boil water in it to make soup and make tea and whatnot, and stave off the cold without having to have smoke and giving away your position.
Or,
you offered
throw
him
boiling water on someone's face.
75. Oh, it's more than half, and that's a nat 20. Um, and he kind of glances over at Madame Eva, and she glances over at him with a raised eyebrow.
They are the chosen ones.
And I think, yes, with that nat 20, I think she'll kind of go, she just wants to talk to you, holds her head. I can see that it is important to their future endeavors. And you can tell he recognizes the for the tourists hokum, and he rolls his eyes. Very well. 75 gold. If only because you are one of the madam's favorites. And he hands over to you. Um, Valbar Marble Bits Self-Sparking Kettle.
What?
Hell yeah.
I don't have like a handout for it, but it
I'm,
is.
I'm copy and pasting that with.
Okay.
Into the.
It is a minor magic item. And yes, you can heat up to 1/2 gallon of water to boiling. If you spend, it's 1 minute, so 10 rounds, which is so much faster than doing it with a fucking campfire. It's 30 or more minutes to boil water over a campfire. And it can be used 10 times per day.
Mm.
Recharges at dawn. And as you like pick it up, it actually doesn't weigh very much. It's like made of tin or some like light alloy because it doesn't have to go over a fire.
Put it under my.
You could. Um, but as you like pick it up and examine it, yeah, you can see on the bottom there's like an elaborate magical like spiral of runes on the bottom, and there's an obvious button. And he demonstrates by just like filling it from a water barrel and pushing the top of the handle, and there's like 30 seconds where it kind of makes like a low hiss, and then it starts to simmer, and after exactly 1 minute, it begins to whistle, and with the steam escaping from the spout, and lets out a small like tick tick ding right as it starts to boil.
Hell yeah.
Neat. Neat.
All right, notes taken. Um, and yeah. Do you? I guess you could go pour Madame Eva a fresh pot of tea. You already got the
could.
boiling water.
Right?
Yeah, I don't want to waste it.
And as you go to walk into the tent with your group, she already has the cups laid out with a few tea leaves in the bottom of each.
Oh, good, because I was gonna say I don't got any tea leaves, so it's like,
They always have such a thing. Some people prefer the tea readings to the crystal ball and all of the tarot cards. I don't ask. I just take payment and tell them what they wish to hear. But for all of you, when she watches, you kind of fill each cup. I think it is important that we consult the deck again. There is one remaining mystery, and one that I was not able to glean an answer to last we spoke. I believe that the mists were too turbulent at that time, and as I have thought on what may be your fate, and as you have grown more attached to the fabric of this place, I believe that if we ask once more where your fated final confrontation may lie, we shall perhaps find an answer. Um, and she lays out the cards. And in fact, the first four she lays out as they were last time. And as she hands the deck to each of you to touch, as after she has shuffled them, she reaches out, you all touch the top of the deck. She shuffles one more time, and the first four cards she turns over are already the same as were dealt last time. and almost like she herself is a little bit surprised at how smoothly that went. She reaches and, oops, I'm sorry, I closed my note. I apologize. There is a final question that we must ask yet again. Where you shall meet your confrontation with this dark enemy. This man whose powers are beyond mortality, this card shall lead you to him. And she draws and she flips over one more card. And I'm just going to link it in Discord because I'm having trouble getting it to work. The marionette. And she thinks and focuses for just a moment, holding her temples. And all of you see, for just the briefest flash, what she's seeing. The tallest tower of Castle Ravenloft stands in the center of the castle. It stretches high into the sky, and as the view from the vision, lightning lighting this tower from behind, sort of draws towards it, you hear a distant, deep, and very large heartbeat. The light in the windows of this spire seems to pulse in time with it. And she says aloud, snapping you out of this momentary vision, "You must look to great heights. Find the beating heart of the castle. He awaits you nearby." So and she inhales and exhales. It was a strong vision, one that I think perhaps we all shared for a moment. It is rare that the cards speak so loudly. And it is concerning that this is the place that they speak of. I have not visited the castle in many long decades, but it is not a place within that you shall have great ease accessing. And she sort of leans back and steeples her fingers. There is a story that is told, one that I believe is related to this place. It was said that in his transition from mortal to immortal, Strahd von Zarevich lost his heart. This speaks to many things, and she raises just a flap in the side of the tent, and she looks out to where Rictavio and Irina are sitting at the fire with a number of the other Vistana. His fated love, Tatiana, was lost to him. His human emotion, his attachments to this world, human being in quotes, you know he was an elf before he transitioned. But also, it is said that the castle now houses his heart rather than his chest. That the heartbeat can be heard through the walls. If I understand correctly, it is possible that the cards have shown us where it now lies, and where you must truly plunge the stake before he may be slain. This is dangerous knowledge, I would recommend that the four of you not speak of it where any others may be listening. And she gives a pointed look to you, Hervir.
Yeah. I was gonna ask about that, but I think that honestly answers anything I was gonna ask in regards to it, so that gets the point across.
I
So
thank you
he
all
nods
for...
with a very
Go ahead.
knowing look.
Mm-hmm. And she nods in return and sighs, staring down into her teacup before taking a drink. He meddles in too many things, but I suppose there's only so much to keep you entertained when you are so old and so free of companionship. But I
Can you
do...
oh, sorry.
Go ahead. I do believe in the end that if you are clever, if you are careful, it may be a path to his undoing. A spider may sense vibrations in their web, but if too many things strike that web at once, perhaps it could be suitably distracted. And she turns to you. You were about to speak, sorry.
What can you tell us about Tatiana? He did call Irina that once in our presence.
And perhaps it was true once. She... She's been watching you. Yes. She mutters something lower than you can really hear it, but you notice as she does so, she puts her hand to her lips in like a very distinct spellcasting posture, says something very quietly, and makes a few complicated hand gestures and points at the door. You can see a faint shimmer around any of the apertures of the tent to prevent further nearby observers. Tatiana, Strahd von Zarevich's once betrothed. I'm afraid it was not to be, and not only because of his undead nature. Her heart slowly was given to another, to his closest confidant, his brother Sergei. Their romantic entanglement remained unknown to Strahd, and in the time that it took him to travel to wherever he found his new dark powers, the two of them, well, they became quite inseparable in his absence. It was only after his dark ascension that he learned of their betrayal. They were released from their mortal coil, but in case it has not struck you yet, you will find it is not only your physical form that cannot leave this place. I'm afraid anybody within the mists who passes into the afterlife finds themselves trapped as well. In time, well, we do as all people do. We reproduce, we raise the next generation, and there are only so many souls left to inhabit those new bodies. She looks just like her, you know. So I believe, in a twisted way, it may be true. Perhaps she was once his dear beloved, but now she is not. Now she is Irina Kolyana.
Didn't you tell
But
us she was from outside the mist, though?
Indeed, but her mother was not.
Her mother did birth her in a field. I know that.
Here
I
in
thought the
Barovia.
assumption was that
Her
the
mother was
mother-
Vistana
right.
and was impregnated here, she explains. Digging into your question, the father is from outside the mists, and her mother returned to give birth to her in this place.
Mm.
What an odd decision to make.
Madam Eva nods. Some things are driven by, well, and she points to the marionette card on the table. The strings of fate. Certain pieces of this grand puzzle must remain, no matter how close they come to escaping. We are not our own puppet masters in this place, I'm afraid.
Yakobachi will lean forward and very politely ask, out of curiosity, do you happen to know what Sergei looked like? Sergei? I can't say it.
Sergei,
What
yes.
he looked like? Could you be able to show me, Madam Eva?
You came from the east of Barovia village, did you not? You arrived outside the grand gates. The one that has been laid low. That statue was originally of Sergei. And you recall there are two figures that stand at that
One was
gate.
beheaded, and I believe
One
I
was
did take a hard
Strahd.
look at the beheaded
You
one.
did.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna
And
connect those
you
dots.
recognized at the time that they were clearly brotherly in appearance. And sure enough, like, there's some difference now that Strahd is really vamped out. He has much hollower cheeks and a much narrower face, but you recognize now that those statues are of him. The one of Sergei looked similar, perhaps a little bit broader chested, a little bit heavier in the jaw, but definitely similar to Strahd.
Okay. And Yakobachi will just kind of mention, well, if it's to believe that Tatiana's soul is in Irina, where's Sergei's soul? In who? If he even is in anybody.
It is an excellent question. Unfortunately, not one that I can answer for you. But I believe he must be here too.
Have to do some soul searching.
Got him.
I couldn't help myself.
Irving needs to go ponder what a soul is.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know if this is like quite related though, but how you brought over, how you mentioned like how like the silken web was.
Mhm.
Does that have anything to do with the web, the silk web thing that they were selling?
Oh, outside?
Yeah.
You feel like she was speaking in metaphor.
I figured as much, but it just seemed like kind of like a weird coincidence.
You're right. And perhaps I should have chosen a different metaphor to not make it so
Okay.
it seemed connected, but you get the feeling, especially after like inspecting that teapot and the level of artifice there, and you think about it, you've heard of Eberron at least. It is a very different type of world. Think the magical industrial revolution. Lots of artificers, lots of like weird geometric patterns, lots of mass produced stuff. And it
Okay.
looked to you like what I was describing if you had looked closer at it. It looks machine woven, which would be
Oh.
very unusual for here. It's too perfect
Oh,
to be
okay.
natural silk. So it's just, if you wanted to spend a bunch of money on fancy fabric, it is one of the things they would be selling. But I
okay.
did not mean to draw a comparison there. I'm sorry for the
Okay.
confusion.
No, that's okay. That's why I asked. I didn't know if it was like, well, if we just buy this one random thing, though, maybe it could.
He's trying to see the pattern. How complex is the prophecy?
The prophecy's just a fucking advertisement to sell us their shit. I
Right.
see a Kindle in your future. You should buy it right now.
But yes, he I think would spot Ervir that you were maybe a little bit rattled by that.
There's a lot of implications that go into a
Yes.
soul inhabiting a body and then basically being that
recycled.
person. And I
Mhm.
think scholars are going to have a long, hard time trying to figure out how a soul is created then. Because there's not one big D deity.
Well, what she was saying is nothing gets in and nothing gets out.
Right. So that means something has to get in to become a soul. Souls are not just created out of thin air.
Right.
But I also know from my religion that souls don't normally get recycled.
Correct.
So,
But also, souls normally are not blocked from passing into the great beyond.
no. But why aren't new souls being created then? So something is making souls, and it's not working here. Why?
Ervir about to have a full-on religious breakdown.
Maybe I see what you're getting at too, because maybe it's like, the soul is just like, hey, listen, I'm about to be in here, I'm about to be born, this is great, and then like this other soul that's a little more mature just comes in like, fuck you, dude,
Elbows you out of the
and
way.
now you just gotta sit
Well-
around and wait.
But then they have the
Who
the
creates the
automaton
soul?
people.
Who creates
They
the soul?
do.
The
There's
person who's
there's
born.
the soulless. So it's not
Mhm.
that the souls are inhabiting a body that would have otherwise had a soul. There's just no
Yeah, like,
souls being made.
What's his face
Why?
at the bar in Barovia?
Why is there no
brewery?
soul?
There's not
Something
enough
makes
to
a
go
soul.
around.
Right, but something makes a soul. If this wasn't Barovia, for example, and everything was normal, except that the souls weren't passing to the afterlife, they may fight over a body for a soul, unless there are extra receptacles for them. But what is creating that soul? What is the spark of life?
Love.
It's something or someone. No,
Love
wrong.
between two
Definitively wrong. So
Their love creates
obviously
the soul.
not. Your bartender was made out of love, and he didn't say shit.
It was a weird
Well-
kind of love.
So something makes a soul. What is that something? I don't know. There's not one big deity. As far as I know, there are no deities in charge of making souls.
Correct.
We're going really far back to creator myths now.
Presumably some spark of the deep astral is
It's always the fucking
responsible.
space squids.
Funnily enough, it goes all the way back to the space squids, even in D&D, yes. Um,
Those are the space squids I meant.
yes. But I actually don't know the answer. I just
I
do
don't know either. I don't know if it's
that
ever been answered.
this conundrum is pointed out in the mod as something that clerics may find difficult.
It's hilarious.
The
it's
clerics that research the Pantheon, they're gonna have a bad
Yes.
time.
And it specifically notes that this is a particular property of this place. It is truly, and you've seen it, even the holy men here have been cut off from what they used to be able to do now, and presumably it's gotten worse over time. So what might have been trapped, what lingering faith may have been enough, is also fading. But it does mention, yes, that the empty are a symptom of the fact that when this land was plucked from the material plane and became its own fragmented dark domain, that was it. The people that were here was the finite soul inhabited size of the population. Anything beyond that is where you start to have chances for the empty, and especially if no one has died recently, there is a higher chance of that occurring. But I think seeing you like beginning to spiral internally,
I observed my Pepe
I-
Sylvia corkboard.
right? Like I assume Irvio's kind of going like, wait, but like you could see that playing out on his face a little bit, and she just would reach forward and take your hand on the tabletop. If only I could possibly give you a proper answer. But I will tell you that things work strangely in this place. And for a brief moment, she shares a vision just with you, Irvir. A figure that is recognizably her, standing on this very spot on the riverbank. And she turns and looks back towards the road, and you can see this isn't a simple trader's camp like it is now. There's an encampment, a military encampment that stretches far from the river, and walking through in gleaming plate mail, speaking to his retinue, and gesturing, at a map held by a scribe who's backpedaling as they plan, is a much more mortal-looking Strahd von Zarevich. And you know that was hundreds of years ago. And you snap back to the moment where Madame Eva just looks like a grandmotherly, elderly Vistana, a human. As I said, we are not all our own puppet masters here. Some have parts to play. And that goes for the disembodied spark as well.
I'm unclear what that vision was supposed to impart to me. Can I maybe roll an insight?
Go for it. Okay. I think what she was trying to express to you is that this place has an unusual effect on its inhabitants, and that she has been here with awaiting her part to play for a very, very long time, and that the normal rules may not apply here. It is not the grander world that you need to be concerned with. There is something wrong with the fabric of this place that causes these aberrations. It's not just the souls, it can be people, it can be places, it can be ideas. This camp is no longer the same camp it once was, but a camp it must remain. That sort of thing. She's just trying to show you, try not to freak out, bro. You don't need to stress about Faerun. This place is different. But if that doesn't come across, it doesn't come across. That's for Irvir to decide.
I think it's more of a...
And she may be misunderstanding you too.
Figure out how this place works then. I don't know if it was so much of a freak out, but more of like a revelation. It's like, I don't know how souls are made.
Fair enough. Yeah, it sounded to you more like it was a faith-shaking event.
But it's like, if a lot of pieces all kind of coming together to be like, okay, well, souls, I guess, are just always made, so then why aren't they just made here? Like, what is the difference? I don't know a deity that does that specifically. There is not a greater deity in the pantheon. It's just everyone jerking themselves off over their portfolio. So, then it has to be a law of the universe sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that, okay, that law of the universe doesn't work here, which we already know time doesn't necessarily work here the same.
Correct.
Now, other things are more mundane, like, the perpetual reign over Castle Ravenloft. Like, we got magic for that shit. We could do that on our own.
Sure.
We don't even need deity level magic for that shit.
But of that scale and of that duration, you'd need some serious mumbo jumbo.
Yeah, you need like a couple mages just take shifts.
Even she's throwing around unusual effects without casting spells. For the record.
I assume that's just spell-like ability.
Just saying.
But obviously, yeah, she is what appears to be human that is hundreds of years old, which I also kind of just write off as magic for no particular reason other than it's just your general suspension of disbelief.
Fair.
When it comes to fantasy settings. Since we haven't been given cause to pay too much attention to that fact until now otherwise.
Well, it's funny because actually one of those things in D&D that you can't just wizard into existence is immortality.
Yeah. Well, she's old.
She is.
Just age slowly.
Fair.
Although if I recall, it was real time actually here was really fast compared to Faerun.
Correct.
So who fucking knows? Yeah, now it's okay. We'll find out how this place can be so separated from Faerun and the other places to not generate souls. Like, that is the new mystery. Like, how
Yes.
do you get outside of the laws of nature?
And I think that is worth investigating. So I'm glad you're intrigued by it, because there are some answers. She doesn't have them, though, I'm afraid.
I got an inkling of who might.
Yeah. But yes, I think she would just sort of lean back and finish her tea and let sort of all this sink in. In a sense, it is reassuring to have imparted this final bit of knowledge to you. If anything, though, well, she smiles. There have been many fortunes told in this place. Many times before, I have laid out the cards, have let them speak. Only once, this time, have they not spoken clearly upon the first reading. I am a truth seer. I am one gifted with foresight. And I believe that only truly powerful moments, truly meaningful shifts in the fabric of fate are capable of causing such disruption. I do believe it is possible that you will be the ones to break the cycle. And I hope, beyond hope, that that is true. And she finishes her tea and kind of stands, and if you will forgive me, such things are taxing. I must rest. And if I am not mistaken, you have a long way to go before sundown. And she creakily wanders to the corner and lowers herself into like her big padded armchair.
We appreciate your guidance.
Of course, I am here to consult whenever you may need me. And she smiles. Hopefully the cards will lead you to where you must go. Travel safe, friends. And best of luck to you. And she will gesture for the door.
It's probably a very big, fun, philosophical conversation to have about fate and puppet masters and being, cleric in service to your deity that's also kind of fate, but not really wanting to follow fate, but the deity kind of has to make that fate for me. I'm probably here because Kalimdor wanted me to be here, right? But we ain't got time for all that.
I can't help but picture Irvir just having this moment and standing up to turn to go, and Ralmir just turns to Akabachi and is like, so when are we setting up the crock box?
Look at all this silver I got.
The tonal whiplash.
Look at this.
Pretty accurate.
Frank, I think you might be inline muted.
That damn cord.
Snap, crackle, and Frank.
Yes,
Okay.
you're good.
Yeah, no, I've been thinking about this crock box this whole time.
We're gonna get him. I'm gonna fuck up this
Unfortunately.
Granny first,
And then I was also thinking about like doing that with Granny too,
Oh no.
cause
That's
I mean,
right.
like we could like say like there's we have like a new like particular. You could show her like a new type of pie. And then we open up the box, it's crock. And then we go rescue all the children.
I'm all about the element of surprise. So
Have you tried crocodile pie?
Strange new meat from beyond the fog.
I got one better. What if we bake a
Stupid
pie?
DM, you know better.
What if
Don't
we-
reinforce the bits.
What if we bake a pie, and you put me in it, like at like
no.
the last second, and then give her the pie, and we do crock pie. We can do it with other animals too. I can be other stuff.
Not give Granny a crock pie.
Dude, you
I
could be
think-
Yogi Bear, dude. Bear in a pie.
Oh, we could make a picnic basket. Can a bear grapple too, so we can do like a similar strat?
A bear can grapple.
Right? I'm sure it can.
For once today, I think we'll draw to a close on that lighter note of you all walking down the road to rejoin the road on your way to the bone grinder, debating how you can possibly ruin Granny's day. And yeah, you head back off into the fog, the afternoon ahead of you, and well, exciting times ahead. But I think we'll pick up there next time if
Oh,
you
yeah.
don't mind me calling you a little early, because
that's
my
fine.
fucking face hurts.
It's like 2.5
I
hours.
think we actually,
Went
yeah, I
over
would say
probably
it was
with-
about
We got
usually
a good
the
amount of time.
yeah.
Next Monday is the holiday. I don't know if you guys got anything planned.
It is. Yes. What are people thinking for that
I don't got
day?
shit
I mean,
planned.
yeah, I'll be free. I'm not doing anything.
Okay.
Probably be good.
And if that changes, obviously I'll let you know.
Yeah.
But as of now, I don't have anything
Fair
planned.
enough.
I'm doing my
Yeah,
shit
yeah.
on Sunday.
As of right now, that should be fine.
I also don't have any
What were
plans
the
for the
days
day
that you
of.
said
Do you,
you-
Mike? So it's gonna be next Monday. I'm available. The Monday after,